You know, if you think about it from the song to the gig to the team, in essence, if you look at those things together, what you're doing is you're creating a business, right? If your songs are your assets, your gig is kind of your marketing, and your team becomes kind of your human capital, your staff, or whatever, well, you have a business now. So you have to think of this as a business, and thinking of it as a business means addressing specific concerns, everything from legal aspects, legal forms of ownership, from, if you are a band, you might want to think about some kind of partnership agreement. You might want to think about an LLC. You might want, there are various ways to structure a band that can really help you over the long haul. But the main message, I think, is not to get bogged down in that stuff, but to genuinely think of it as a business, and that requires thinking entrepreneurial, and that's kind of a vague term, but what it means to me is being opportunistic with some strategy, so that you have what I call kind of core principles. You have a mission, right? And that can, you hear the word mission statement and it sounds kind of hokey or corporate or something, but you have something that defines you as a band, who you are, right, and what your values are. Again, returning to a band like Fugazi, very easy to see what their values are, but it can be something as simple as, well, we are a democracy, and we want to never sell out, right? Well, that's very vague, but you can begin defining that. Well, what is selling out? Is selling out, it used to be selling out was having your music used in commercials, so clearly that ain't the case anymore. So, what is selling out? But having some values, and then having a vision, and essentially, your vision is how you're going to get to your mission. So if your mission is our mission is we're going to be a great band and we get to do this exclusively. We don't have to work day jobs, right? That's our mission. So, well, what's the vision to get there? Well, vision implies a certain strategy, and so now we really are, as I suppose, distasteful as it is to some musicians to think about, we are thinking about it like a business. And what that means is having kind of measurable goals and actions. And too often bands don't do that. Their measurable goal is start band, become famous, right? And that's the gap in between start band and get famous is insurmountable. And it just won't happen. So there's all sorts of little steps in between them, and certainly we've talked about some of them in the sense of, writing songs, getting those songs copyrighted, affiliated, whatever. That's a little gap between start band and get famous, or start band and be a self-sustaining musician, whatever that gap is. And then another gap is getting a manager, and what are the steps in there? And thinking strategically, and then really being able to measure your progress. Too often bands don't measure. They do the same thing year in and year out, and they can't really figure out, well, why aren't we going anywhere? Why are we spinning wheels? It's because they're repeating the same strategy that just isn't working that well for them over and over again. And thinking like a business, businesses are forced either through, if they're public companies, through their external shareholders or through their checkbooks to re-examine their strategies. If we're not making money, we have to figure out why and change it, or we're not a business anymore. And bands can kind of go on indefinitely that way because they subsidize it with their other money or whatever. And I would contend that will that will bankrupt you in a different way. It'll kind of bankrupt your soul, because you begin feeling like, I'm not good at this, and it may not be the case at all. It just may be that your kind of business strategy isn't the right one. I'd like to say also that I don't see this kind of left brain, right brain thing when it comes to people can either be business people or artistic people. I think that some of the best business people in the world, certainly the best business people I know, have a real artistic sense about them. And if you think about it, one of the key elements of being an entrepreneur, being opportunistic, seeing opportunities, is being able to improvise, right? Something gets thrown at you and you have to shift a little bit, and well, that's music, right? So the band should be the people coming up with ideas, and the manager, who also should be coming up with ideas to a degree, but should really be kind of managing them and tracking the progress. How many people showed up at the last show, right? X. How many people showed up at the show after that? X plus or minus. Why is there variance? You got to ask these questions, and then you got to figure out how to reduce the variance and keep it moving forward. And then, I start using words like variance. I suppose I sound like a business person, but why do we have less people at our show this time than we did last time? You got to figure that out. if you don't, it's just going to keep going down and down. And certainly understanding the structures out there, understanding what it is you want. Part of being a good business person is being an informed business person, understanding what publishing is, understanding what your assets are. These songs are your assets, maybe your only assets. How are you going to maximize those assets? If you want to get signed to a record deal, do you understand the architecture of that record company? You know, how does it work? How do these pieces fit together? Management relationships. How do you figure out how to work within a management company? So all of these things are business elements that I think it's incumbent upon musicians to think about.